Are you self-employed and looking for an easy way to keep your personal and business finances organized? Well, in this video, we're going to be taking another look at QuickBooks Self-Employed, including a few things I've discovered after several more months of using the service. Hey everyone, this is Kyle from Money at 30, and on this channel we look at personal finance from a millennial perspective, including app and tool reviews like this one. I first started using QuickBooks Self-Employed a couple of years ago after realizing that as a freelancer, I needed to do a better job of tracking my business expenses in order to deduct them from my taxes. After successfully using it for a full year, I reviewed the service for what was one of my first videos on this channel. With nearly another year passing since the release of that review, I figured it was due for an update. Before I jump into some of the new things I want to mention about QuickBooks Self-Employed, let me give you an overview of the service and the basics you need to know. First of all, what I liked about this tool was that I could easily link my various financial accounts and categorize each of my transactions. Furthermore, the site and app offer support for tracking business mileage, which can also factor into your tax deductions. Speaking of taxes, QuickBooks Self-Employed also gives you estimates of how much you should be paying for your quarterly taxes based on your income and expenses. However, if you'd like to make tax payments through QuickBooks, you'll need to upgrade to their tax bundle plan, which is $7 more per month. Lastly, QuickBooks Self-Employed offers an invoicing tool so that you can easily request payments from clients. If you want, you can even sign up for Intuit's payments feature, though this functionality will come at the cost of 2.9% of the bill amount plus 25 cents if your client is paying with a credit card, although bank transfers are free. Admittedly, these aspects of QuickBooks Self-Employed are those I've used the least, but it could definitely be helpful for those currently without an invoicing solution. As I mentioned, with another year of using QuickBooks Self-Employed under my belt, I've discovered a few more helpful tools along with a couple of annoyances I wanted to highlight. With that, let's take a look at some of the features I'm really making use of, as well as some suggestions and warnings to be aware of. Starting off with the good, one of the features I've really been enjoying lately is QuickBooks Amazon integration, which makes categorizing your purchases a lot simpler. If you do a lot of shopping on Amazon, letting your personal and business expenses mingle as a result, the ability to view more detail on each of your transactions from QuickBooks can be of great assistance. Now, instead of seeing purchases listed just as Amazon, you can view the items included in your order. Furthermore, you can go through and label the individual items as either business or personal. As it turns out, this is a feature I didn't really know I wanted, but have definitely been making use of and increasing my deductions as a result. In my last review, I definitely mentioned how you could set up rules for certain transactions in order to have them automatically be categorized in the future. But after another year of using the app, it's really become clear to me just how much this helps you keep up to date. Admittedly, while I try to keep up on categorizing my transactions with some frequency, there have been a few times I've fallen behind. Thankfully, in each of these cases, the backlog wasn't nearly as bad as I would have anticipated thanks to the number of rules I had already set up. Basically, since I had previously defined where my most frequent purchases fell, there were only a few outliers to go through each time. One small word of warning I'd give about setting up rules is that you may find yourself going overboard and overlooking some potential expenses. For example, while I nearly set up rules to have some of my favorite restaurants automatically categorized as personal, it occurred to me that I might end up eating at some of these chains while on a business trip, in which case they'd be partially deductible. That said, you can always get around this by just reminding yourself to look back at the transactions made during any business trips you may have taken and correcting any purchases that you may have missed. Just as spending more time with an app or service can highlight more of the benefits, it can also bring your attention to some annoyances. For me, QuickBooks Self-Employed sometimes duplicate transactions, as well as the inability to clone business mileage trips have become my pet peeves. Even if you have all your rules in place, one thing I definitely recommend is double checking all of your reviewed business transactions in order to weed out any duplicates. For the life of me, I can't quite figure out why this phenomenon happens, but it definitely does from time to time. While it's easy enough to exclude these duplicates when you spot them, it's still unfortunate that you even have to. Meanwhile, in my previous video, I mentioned that I rarely use the mileage options in QuickBooks as my job didn't require me to drive all that often. Yet, when I went to enter a few consecutive trips I did driving to and from this year's FinCon Expo, I noticed how tedious entering these individual trips could be. That's because there doesn't seem to be an option to duplicate a trip, which seems like a pretty obvious feature to me. Moreover, unless your computer already has a location in its autofill directory, you'll need to manually enter the addresses each time if you want to keep track of them. This process is slightly easier in the app, where QuickBooks will search Google Maps info to fill in the addresses, but the duplicate option is still nowhere to be found. I suppose this is all the more incentive to use the app's auto-tracking feature, but it's still annoying nonetheless. Despite those notes, QuickBooks Self-Employed has still been extremely helpful for me when it comes to keeping track of my business expenses and maximizing my deductions. That said, I still have yet to actually test out their tax bundle plan, but I do expect to try that out this year, so stay tuned for my review in the coming months. Anyway, hopefully this update gives you a better idea about QuickBooks Self-Employed, but you can also check out my full written review on Dire News in the description box down below. Also in the description box and pinned comment, you'll find a special link for QuickBooks Self-Employed that will entitle you to 50% off for a full year when you sign up, as opposed to the typical 3-month introductory rate. That means you can get a year of the service for $5 a month, or upgrade to the tax bundle plan for $12 a month for your first year. Lastly, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe because we have new videos every week. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time here on Money at 30.